Hello, it is Sunday the 3rd of December 2017, and in this video I'm going to be looking at the latest Thunderball result. In fact, the latest 4 Thunderball results, and I'm going to show you the ways in which the winning numbers were the most outstanding, and in which case, if you know the way to look at the draw history to see the ways in which the numbers were outstanding, then if you look at the draw history in the same ways again, then obviously then the most outstanding numbers, when you look at it that way, should be the winning numbers. So the latest result in draw 2149 was 6, 15, 19, 30, 31 and Thunderball 8. Now I was betting on Thunderball number 8 and also number 31 and number 6. And if I just remembered to put my Thunderball numbers on, I would have won £10. But I forgot to put them on. So, no big loss. Anyway, let's have a look at the chart then for the draw history since the number of main numbers went up to 39. And the main prize went up to 500 grand. I'm going to look at the draw history from then up until the most recent draw before the last draw, so that we can see where the winning numbers were on this chart. Okay, that's where they were, and let's see where all the other numbers were as well. So this is what the chart looks like. Okay, we're just looking at the main numbers, and this is where the winning numbers were. So that's where they were, and that's where the winning numbers were. So you can see generally they were towards the more frequent end of the chart. And also 3 of the numbers were right on the edge of the chart. The edge of the chart is this line that runs from the most overdue down to the most frequent, and it's always a diagonal line that goes from top left to bottom right when the chart is this way around. So you've got the most frequent end on the right, the most overdue at the top. So in what ways were these numbers outstanding? First of all, 31 most frequent, and if we just turn off the Thunderball section so that we're only looking at the main numbers, there's the top right corner, and as you can see, because 30 is slightly more overdue than 31, it's the one that's nearest to the top right corner, which means it's the most overdue for its frequency. And then we've got over here, we've got number 6 on the edge, and that one is kind of outstanding, not very outstanding. But anyway, let's look at just the Thunderball section. And this is where the winning Thunderball was, up there at the top of the chart. So the ways in which this was the most outstanding number is, firstly, it's most overdue. Secondly, it's nearest to that top right corner, so it's the most overdue for its frequency as well. So Thunderball number 8 was the most outstanding in 2 ways on this chart, and that's why I was betting on that number. Now let's have a look what we got. Okay, now let's suppose that from looking at this chart we decided to pick number 30 because it was the most overdue for its frequency on the main number chart. Now if we looked at a chart for other numbers paired with number 30, then we get this chart, and on this chart you can see that number 19 is second most frequent, not the most outstanding in that respect, but it's also on the edge, on that line, which defines where the edge of the chart is, so you can see that it was due to a curve because of its frequency and basically because it's on that line. So perhaps not the most outstanding, but one of the most outstanding on that chart. Now if we narrow it down to just the machine that was used in that draw, then now you can see on this chart for numbers paired with number 30, number 6 had never been drawn before with that machine and with number 30. Okay, so since the beginning of the Thunderball it had only been drawn 3 times, but if we're just going back as far as when there started to be 39 numbers, it had never been drawn since then. So number 6 outstanding because it was most overdue to occur with number 30, and obviously if you look at a chart for number 6 we'll find the same with number 30 on that chart. Now if we look at a chart for numbers paired with 31, and this specific machine, and we'll look at the Thunderball section of the chart, then the number that is closest to the top right corner is Thunderball number 8. So Thunderball number 8 most overdue for its frequency to occur with number 31. So that's a way in which that number was outstanding again. Now if we look at a chart for all machines and just the 4 sets of balls that have been used recently, this is the current trend. As you can see, the current trend is sets of balls 1, 2, 3 and 4, machines 5 and 6. So if we look at a chart for just the 4 sets that are currently in use, then we're looking at the current trend in terms of the sets of balls, and if we're looking at all machines, these are the numbers paired with number 31. Okay, and what we find on this chart is actually we need to look at, that's it, numbers paired with number 6, and on this chart what we find is that Thunderball number 8 is most overdue to occur with main number 6. So again, Thunderball number 8 outstanding again. And if we look at a chart for all machines and the current trend sets of balls, and we'll just look at the Thunderball section of the chart, you can see again Thunderball number 8 still most overdue on that chart as well. Now if we look at a chart for main numbers that have occurred with Thunderball number 8, then we find that number 15 was one of the most frequent. Also number 6 is on the edge of the chart, quite overdue. And to see which of these most frequent numbers, also number 30 is most frequent as well, and see which of these most frequent numbers is more likely to occur with Thunderball number 8. Let's narrow it down to the current trend machines, which are 5 and 6. And now you can see that number 15 is the most outstanding because it's the most frequent. And also number 6 is one of the 5 most overdue on that chart. And if we're just looking at the current trend and we look at the Thunderballs, just the Thunderballs, then you can see that Thunderball number 8 is the most overdue again. It's also definitely, well, not sure if number 12 is nearest to that top right corner, but I think number 8 is probably nearest to that top right corner, so it's also the most overdue for its frequency. And when we look at the main number section for this chart, which summarises the current trend, then you can see that number 30 is most overdue for its frequency because it's nearest to that top right corner. And also I've got number 6 still on the edge of the chart, just about to occur. Now if we narrow it down even further to specifically the machine that was used, and we look at numbers paired with number 30, then what we find on this chart is that number 15 is one of the most overdue for its frequency. Number 6 is one of the most overdue. And if we look at the Thunderball section, you can see that Thunderball number 8 is one of the most overdue for its frequency. And that's to occur with number 30 and machine 5 sets of balls 1 to 4. Now if we look at all machines, and we narrow it down to set of balls number 1, which was used in that draw, and then the one we're analysing, then you can see that number 19, second most frequent, is on the edge again. And on the Thunderball side, again Thunderball number 8 most overdue, and also most overdue for its frequency. Now if we look at numbers paired with number 6, then we've got number 15 on the edge of the chart set to occur with number 6. And we could look at numbers charts for each of the other machines, for each of the other numbers. So you can see number 6 is on the edge of that chart for 15. On the chart for 19, no outstanding on that one. Then on the chart for 30, you can see 19's on the edge of the chart. Thunderball number 8 is on the edge. And number 31 for that set of balls. So we've got number 8 on the edge, and so basically that's all the ways in which the numbers were most outstanding. And also when we look at a chart for machine 5 and set of balls 1, you can see that Thunderball number 8 most overdue for its frequency on that chart as well. So those are the ways in which these numbers were most outstanding. So I suppose if we were going to put, maybe a separate line on for each machine and set of balls combination that's used in the current trend, then for machine 5 set of balls number 1, let's suppose we pick Thunderball number 8, and then let's suppose that to go with Thunderball number 8, let's suppose that we look at the current trend, machines and sets of balls, and we notice that 15 is most frequent with Thunderball number 8, so we pick 15. And then let's suppose that, let's suppose we just pick the outstanding numbers on the charts that we've just been looking at, like this one and this one and so on. Then I suppose we could have possibly picked the winning numbers, but the thing is, we don't always know in what ways the winning numbers are most outstanding. In fact, I don't seem to recall number 19 being particularly outstanding in any way, but it still came out though, so there you have it. Now, because I've not done a video for the previous draw before the last one, I'm just going to have a quick look at the ways in which those numbers were outstanding. I spent all day looking at these charts, finding the ways in which the numbers were outstanding and making little notes so that I can show you very quickly without having to memorise it all. So for draw 2148, it was machine 6, set of balls 4. The winning numbers were 16, 22, 26, 34, 59, and Thunderball 6. Now, if we look at a chart for all machines and all sets of balls, then you can see that number 39 was second most overdue, so not most outstanding, but it is relevant that it was close to the top of the chart. And if we narrow it down to the current trend machines, which are 5 and 6, then you can see that 22 was most outstanding because it was most frequent. Then we've got number 26 on the edge of the chart, nearest to top right, which means most overdue for its frequency. There's 26, and that's the top corner, so it's nearest to that. Now if we look at current trend machines and current trend sets of balls, then on this chart what we found is now 26 is most frequent, also most overdue for its frequency. Got 39 right on the edge of the chart, 16's near the edge, and 22 also near the edge. Now on this chart, if we look at numbers paired with 26, then we find that 22 is on the edge of that chart. And if we look at the machine that was used, which in this case was machine 6, then 22 is most frequent with 26 and machine 6 and the current trend set of balls. Now if we look at a chart for that machine and the current trend set of balls, then you see 26 most overdue for its frequency, 39 on the edge. Now if we look at all machines and the set of balls that were used, which were a set of balls T4, then on this chart you can see 34 is on the edge of that chart. Not most outstanding, but near the edge anyway. Now if we look at numbers paired with 22 on this chart, you can see number 26 is on the edge, and number 39 is one of the 3 most overdue to occur with 22 and set of balls 4. Now if we look at numbers paired with 26 on this chart, then right away what we find is oh yeah, that's it, that's what we're looking for. 26 and 16 is most overdue for its frequency to occur with 26 and set of balls 4. And also 39 is one of the 4 most overdue on this chart that have yet to occur with number 26 set of balls 4. And the only way I've found in which the Thunderball was most outstanding, it's a bit of a long shot, but this is the only way that Thunderball number 6 was most outstanding, and I spent quite a while trying to find this. But when we look at numbers paired with 16, machine 6, set of balls 4, only then does Thunderball number 6 prove to be most outstanding, because it's most overdue for its frequency. And that's the only reason why I can find that Thunderball number 6 occurred in this draw. And when we look at a chart for numbers paired with 26, then we've got 22 and 16 most overdue for the frequency, and obviously this chart is very small, so not exactly outstanding, but it is relevant. It is relevant. Okay, so that was draw 2148. Now let's look at the draw before that one. Draw 2147. Now in draw 2147, the machine that was used was machine 6, and it was set of balls 2, and the winning numbers were 4, 13, 20, 24, 32 and Thunderball 13. Now if we look at the chart, for all machines, all sets of balls, then on the Thunderball side you can see Thunderball 13 was the most overdue. So in that respect it was the most outstanding. And if we look at just the main numbers and see which one's nearest to the top right corner, then clearly number 32 is nearest to the top right corner. So 32 was the most overdue for its frequency. Now if we narrow it down to the current trend sets of balls 1 to 4 and look at it again, on the Thunderball side what we find is 13 nearest to top right corner and also most overdue, so definitely most outstanding on this chart. Not the most frequent, but still in two ways it's most outstanding. And on the main number side, now the most frequent is 32 and it's also most overdue for its frequency. Okay, now if we narrow it down even further to the current trend machines 5 and 6, and what we find is 32 most overdue for its frequency and Thunderball 13 also most overdue for its frequency, closest to that top right corner. Now that's a good reason to pick both Thunderball 13 and main number 32. We are having to narrow it down any further than that. So let's now look at a chart for all machines, all sets of balls, and numbers paired with 32. So this is the chart for 32. Let's see what we find. Oh look, the most outstanding number because it's most frequent is number 20, which happened to be drawn. So if we look at a chart for 20, we'll obviously find 32 is most frequent with 20. That pair is the most frequent for each other. Now if we look at a chart for all machines, all sets of balls, paired with Thunderball 13 Then when we look at the main numbers again, we find 32 is most frequent alongside number 1. But number 1 wasn't drawn, just 32 was drawn. And so if we narrow it down, will 32 prove to be more frequent than 1? Let's find out. Yes, it will. When we look at the current trend balls, the current trend sets of balls, 32 is most frequent with Thunderball 13. And if we narrow it down to the current trend machines as well, then what we find now is that number 13 and number 4 are both on the edge of that chart to occur with Thunderball 13. So those two numbers, not most outstanding, but it is relevant that they are on the edge of the chart. Because you notice on every chart there seems to be the top right section empty. The bottom right section is where, the bottom left section is where all the numbers are. And then you can divide that into two sections again, and we find that most of the numbers are in the bottom triangle and there are a few in the top. And what happens is, as the numbers cross this line and they go into the dark part of the chart, then they tend to drop down. It's almost as if there's nothing holding them up, and so they fall. But anyway, that's numbers paired with 13, and if we were definitely going to pick 32 as well, then let's look at a chart for numbers paired with number 32 on the current trend. And what we find is that hang on a minute, I'm supposed to be finding main number 13 is on the edge of that chart. Right, now let's narrow it down to specifically the machine that was used, machine 6. Now on this chart, the most overdue for its frequency is 13, possibly 1 or 13, but 13 came out in the draw, so I'm going to say 13. And also number 4 on the edge of that chart again. If we look at numbers paired with Thunderball 13, then specifically machine 6, current trend sets of balls, numbers paired with Thunderball 13, we have main number 13 most outstanding in two ways: most frequent and also most overdue for its frequency. And we've got 24 is amongst the most overdue numbers that had yet to occur with machine 6 sets 1 to 4 Thunderball 13. And also 20 is on the edge of that chart as well. So you can see 13's crossed the line, it's about to drop, and 20 is on the line. So those are possible reasons why those numbers came up. Now let's look at all machines, and the set of balls that was used, which was 2. And we'll look at a chart for numbers paired with main number 32. And let's see what we find on this chart. We find 24 on the edge of that chart. And let's look at a chart for numbers paired with 20. Now on this chart we find number 4 on the edge, one of probably the 2 or 3 most overdue for the frequency. And also Thunderball 13, one of the 2 most overdue. If we look at numbers paired with Thunderball 13, okay, you can't really see much until we look where the winning numbers were. So now you can see 13, 24, 20 at the top of the chart. So most overdue for the frequency and amongst the most overdue. Now if we look at the current trend machines, and specifically the set of balls that was used, then we find that 32 most outstanding by a lot on this chart. Most overdue for its frequency as well. And so we definitely need to pick 32 for that reason. And if we had done that, then we would have won some money. And the second most overdue on this chart is number 20. And also on the Thunderball side, number 13 is the most overdue. Most overdue Thunderball. So also number 20, second most overdue for its frequency as well. So good reasons to pick those numbers. If we had looked at this chart, then those are the most outstanding numbers what we would have picked. So if we look at the charts for each of these numbers, and let's see where the winning numbers were. So for number 4, they were all at the most overdue end. For 13, see, they're all on the edge. They're all on the edge of the chart for 13. When we look at 20, let's see where they were. So you can see 13 was overdue with 20, and on that one they were more towards the frequent side of the chart. 13 most overdue. And that's where they were on the chart for 24. And finally the chart for 32. So you can see what happens. That's what happens. The numbers get to the edge of the chart, they cross the line, they drop. It's the ones that are usually most overdue or most frequent. And there are mathematical and engineering reasons why that tends to happen. It's not an absolute rule. I'm not saying that that's absolutely what always happens, but what I'm saying is that it tends to be, sort of geared towards that, to significant extent. So finally I'm going to look at draw 2146. So this chart summarises the draw history from when the numbers went up to 39 right up until the draw before draw 2146. So we're only going up as far as draw 2145, so that we can see where the winning numbers were for that draw on that chart. So if we'd been looking at this chart before that draw, then this is where the winning numbers would have been. So in what ways were these the most outstanding numbers? Well, looking at this main number side of the chart, you can see the most overdue number is number 11. So straight away, that's a way in which number 11 was most outstanding. Now if we narrow it down to the current trend balls, sets of balls 1 to 4, and we'll look at a chart for numbers paired with 11, then what we find is that number 7 was most overdue for its frequency, and also 13 most frequent and quite overdue as well. So looks like I forgot to mention that on that little on my notes there. I'll just add that in. Now Thunderball number 5 was drawn, and look where it is, most overdue, and also there's the top right of that chart, so it looks like it was most overdue for its frequency as well. So that's numbers paired with 11, which was the most overdue number looking at the full set of machines and all sets of balls. So if we'd have picked 11 for that reason, and then looked at a chart for 11 and looked at the current trend sets of balls, this is what we would have found. We would have found a reason to pick 7, 13 and Thunderball number 5, all starting with main number 11. So straight away we could have picked that, and then we would have had 3 numbers and a Thunderball. But would we have got any more than that? Well, let's carry on. Let's suppose that because of where number 7 is on this chart, let's suppose we pick number 7 and look at a chart for number 7, and we notice 13 is most frequent. So we would definitely pick 13. What if we narrow it down to the current trend machines? And chart for number 7, 13, more outstanding now on this chart. You can see it's a lot more frequent with number 7. And obviously, if we look at it the other way around, we're going to find number 7 outstanding for the same reason. And if we're just looking at the current trend for the machines and sets of balls, and looking at the main numbers, then I think the one that's closest to that top right corner is clearly main number 7. So we've got reasons to pick these 3 main numbers in the Thunderball because they were outstanding in those ways. Now if we look at all machines and all sets of balls, and we'll look at numbers paired with 13, then we're going to pick number 7 anyway, because we've already got a reason to pick number 7. And then we've got a choice of 2 second most frequent numbers to pick after that, and one of those 2 is number 4. So, you know, if we'd have gone for number 4, that was one of the winning numbers. And then when we look at a chart for number 7, there's 13, and then second most frequent is 34. Now if we look at 7 and 13 together, then if we were struggling to choose between 4 and 20, then when we looked at this chart for these two numbers and seeing where number 4 is, then that would settle the debate. So it wouldn't be 20, it would be 4 that we picked to be second most frequent. So remember, on the chart for numbers paired with 13, see we're going to have 13 anywhere, we're going to have 7 anywhere. We want to know whether to pick 4 or 20 because it's second most frequent. You can see that 30 is most overdue, but it's also least frequent, so let's ignore that. That's nothing special. These two, however, much more frequent, so if we're deciding between 4 and 20, to go with 7 as well, it's going to be 4. So if we'd have done that, we would have got 4 main numbers in the Thunderball, but would we have picked 34? Well, looking at this chart for the numbers paired with 7, there's 13. Now we've got kind of a wave, and at the end of that wave we've got 34. Not really a good enough reason to pick it. But if we had 7 and 4 together, 34 is most frequent. One of 3 most frequent numbers. And if we had 7, 4 and 13 together, 34 is one of those most frequent numbers as well. So maybe we would have a reason to pick 34. So I don't know about that, but anyway, if we had picked 34 to go with those, because of the ways in which they were the most outstanding numbers, then we would have won £500,000, which would have been nice. So now, finally, after looking at the 4 most recent draws on the Thunderball, all in one video, I've spent all day getting ready for this video. Spent all day writing my notes, looking at the draw history summarised on these charts. Now, let's have a look at the state of the Thunderball lottery as it is at the moment, summarised on this chart. Well, the least frequent number is the most overdue number, which is no surprise because it's least frequent, so we can ignore that. Most recent is most frequent. No surprise there. Now if we draw a line from one corner to the other and see which numbers are currently crossing that line, it looks like there's 3 main contenders that are crossing the line, and those are 28, 21 and 32. And on the Thunderball side we've got Thunderball 11, most outstanding in 2 ways. Firstly, it's the most frequent, and secondly, it's the most overdue for its frequency. So let's suppose that initially we'll choose these numbers for those reasons, the ones that are crossing the line at the edge of the chart, and that are most outstanding. So initially we'll choose these, but as we go into, if we go into more detail, if we narrow it down a bit, then we might change our minds. So first of all, let's narrow it down to the current trend balls. Sets 1 to 4. So now 28 not looking so hot. Number 9 more outstanding now. 32 most frequent. 21 can't even see it now. Oh, there's 21. Seems like this section of the chart has got a lot of numbers in it, so that might help 21 to be drawn. And now number 11 isn't most outstanding. Now number 12 is most outstanding in 3 ways: most frequent, most overdue, and clearly most overdue for its frequency. So let's change that 11 to 12. And now let's narrow it down even further to the current trend machines 5 and 6 and see if we change his minds. Well, now the numbers that were crossing the line seem to be well behind it, so nothing outstanding there. Number 12 is still the most outstanding Thunderball in 2 ways: most overdue and most overdue for its frequency. Most frequent being number 3. So we'll stick with number 12. So let's go machine specific. If it's machine 6 in the next draw, number 12 will be right down there. Thunderball number 8 would be the most outstanding. But if it was machine 5, then we'll go for number 12. So for the Thunderball, it's either 12 or 8, and because 12 is more outstanding than 8 on the main chart, we'll go with 12. Now let's just have a look at a gap chart for number 8. There's always been 14 Thunderballs, so we'll look at the full draw history. Gap of 1, there's the number 1. So it's quite likely that Thunderball number 8 will come out again in the next draw, because the gap between occurrences of 1 should be more frequent than 3. Now let's look at the same for Thunderball 12. A gap of 27, and that 27 looks like it's where it should be. So maybe we should pick number 8. So I'm not sure about that just yet. Now let's look at just the main numbers. And current trend sets of balls. and specifically one machine or the other. And remember, we're looking for these numbers, see if they're most outstanding in more than one way. So if it's machine 5, 32 would still be one of the most outstanding. There's 21, there's 9. So that's machine 5. Let's look at machine 6. So now, on that one, 21's still not a bad choice. So I think we will definitely have 21. And the other two, I'm not so sure about. Okay, now let's look at individual sets of balls. So on set 1 we've got 21. We've got 3 outstanding as well. On set 2, number 9 outstanding. On set 3, 32, also 29. And set 4, 21, 32. So I think we will definitely have 32. And I'm not quite sure about number 9 just yet. So let's go further down, narrow it down further. I noticed 38 was outstanding on one of the other charts as well, so let's have 38. But I'm not too sure about it just yet. Got 21 there, 9 there. There's 38, there's 32. So let's see where the Thunderballs are. Now looking at that, when choosing between 12 and 8, I think maybe I'll go with 12. But to help me decide, considering that I'm going to stick with 21 and 32, let's have a look at a chart. So 21, they're both equally frequent. With 32, 12 is more frequent. So that settles it. Thunderball 12. So now that I know I'm going to have Thunderball 12, let's look at the main numbers paired with Thunderball 12. So I've got number 2, most overdue for its frequency. So we'll have that. Now the question is, do I want to change my mind or not about any of these numbers? Well, there's 32, there's 38. Number 4, looking quite interesting on that. So let's just look at the current trend balls. Sets 1 to 4, again number 4, outstanding on that. But could it just be because of the machines we're looking at? Now if we look at the current trend machines, now number 4 is right down there. The most overdue for its frequency, number 2. Let's look at numbers paired with each other then. So I noticed 21 and 28 seem to want to be paired with each other. 16's outstanding on that one. So I might swap possibly some numbers. Say 16 are standing with 32. Then we've got 28, 38 and so on. Let's have a look at numbers paired with 2. Good with 32 and 8. Did I say 8? I meant 38. Out of interest, let's look at the chart for 8. Let's look at 9. 38 most frequent. So 37 seems to be cropping up a lot lately, but it's in the top left corner, so that means we can ignore it. So anyway, I think I'll just pick these numbers for the next draw. So I'll either fall flat on my face and not win anything, or I might win something. We'll find out in the next draw. So that concludes this very long video. I'd be very surprised if anyone actually watches all of it. Anyway, yeah, good luck in the next draw, which is on Wednesday, and bye for now.